All right, so this is part two. I guess it cuts you off at 25 minutes. Didn't know that. Okay, so anyway, basically, um, the more God put these plagues on the Egyptians, it was kind of like, it seemed interesting to me that Pharaoh was like, it's really not that big a deal at the end. But then this is after God had put things to a stop, you know. Then he would go back and harden his heart, which is interesting to me because I feel like that's a lot of the American people, the people in the world. They're okay with lockdowns and restrictions based on absolute fallacies. But it's okay because, you know, it's going to get better. It's fine. The passivity and the just flippant disregard for basic human rights is interesting to me at this point. Okay, so the gnats. All right, so Adonai said to Moses, tell Aaron to stretch out your staff because before, so it was the staff that was touching the water. I believe all the ways that the plagues were brought about were prophetic. I don't know how in every instance, but this one really stood out to me. So the first two times they put the staff over water, and the frogs came out of the water. The blood contaminated the water. So that was the staff representing, in essence, the Spirit of God. But they would put it over the water. And so if you look at creation, what did God cause to spring forth first? Well, it was light. He said, let there be light, but then there was the firmament, which separated the what from the what? The waters. Okay, so this was interesting to me. He said, tell Aaron, stretch out your staff and strike the dust of the earth. What was the second thing after the light, the firmament, the waters? Um, he made the ground or the earth spring up in the middle of the water. Okay, so he strikes the dust of the earth. And where did he create mankind from? What did he create us from? The dust of the earth, right? So he said, and it will become gnats, and throughout all the land of Egypt. So they did it. When Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff and struck the dust of the earth, there were gnats on men and animals, and all of the dust of the earth became gnats throughout the land of Egypt. I cannot imagine. But listen, it says, when the magicians attempted the same, so this was the third plague, which the number 3 is significant again. When they attempted the same with their secret arts to bring forth the gnats, they could not do it. Okay? So the magician said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. But Pharaoh's heart was hardened and he didn't listen to them, just as Adonai had promised. Okay? This was very significant to me as I was reading it. It just jumped off the page. Okay? God created man out of the dust of the earth. On the third day, Christ rose from the earth. It was the one thing, okay, that the counterfeits that have been throughout all of history, and even in the book of Revelation, he says to tell to the spirit of this church, I am the one who is living and who has risen from the dead. I was alive and then I died and I am again. And this was a slap in the face because if you read throughout history, those who worshiped other gods, their big thing was they had made this religion around Nimrod, who they, after Tower of Babel, the languages changed, but they were all talking about the same dude, y'all. Zeus, Nimrod. Uh, and Tammuz was his son. And so who's the son of Zeus? Hercules, right? Right? Isn't that right? Anyway, they believe that he was reincarnated through his son. Um, so it was all a giant counterfeit for the Messiah, Yeshua, who truly died and was truly resurrected by the Father. And so this was interesting to me because on the third plague, they were not able to replicate the dust and the gnats coming out. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like every word of the Torah is speaking to what Yeshua has accomplished and what the world's system or the beast system can never replicate. Oh, it's powerful. Anyway, okay, I get really excited. So they weren't able to do it. And then he told him, rise up early in the morning, and as Pharaoh comes to the water, say this to him. This is what Adonai says: let my people go so that they may worship me and serve me. Or else, if you do not let my people go, I will send a swarm of flies on you and your servants and your people and your houses. And so, of course, this is what happens, and it transpires. And this is the last scripture I just want to hit on real quick. And the houses of the Egyptians will be full of the swarm of flies, including the ground that they stand on. But on that day I will set apart the land of Goshen where my people are dwelling, except no swarm of flies will be there, so that you may know that I am Adonai in the midst of the earth. I will make a distinction between my people and your people. By tomorrow, this sign will happen. I about jumped out of my chair when I read this because for weeks, and I had posted it in the band app on my Bible study group. Um, yeah, I feel like there's going to be a distinction, and it's going to be like this line in the sand. And I have felt this for weeks. It's coming to the point where anyone who has called themselves a believer up to this point, but have been in it for selfish gain or their own benefit, because if you know, as believers, we're in this for Him. And yes, we do benefit because of the covenant He has made with us, but that is not why we are following and serving and loving and obeying. It is truly not, and it cannot be, because if that's your motivation, you're going to you're not going to want to hold on for the long haul, because there is a wave of persecution coming. Um, and it has already begun. If you are not seeing it, then your head is in the sand. Um, and so as it strengthens and grows and more intensely begins to spread, I feel like certain believers, or those who call themselves believers, but we're not rooted and grounded in the Word and in the truth, are going to fall away. And there's going to be a line in the sand. And there's going to be a distinction between the people of God and those who are counterfeit. And what's cool about this is that if you read Jasher and a few other accounts, there were certain Egyptians that watched everything go down, certain families that when the time for Exodus came, they said, can we come with you? Because we believe in your God. Like, we've seen His hand and we don't want to stay here. So I think it's going to be really cool, because we're going to start to see, and I've already begun to see this in my own personal friendships, people saying, like, what do I have to do to be saved? Because I don't want to live in this part of this system, this world, this, you know, um, so help me. And I believe we're going to hear and see that more often. We've got to open up our hearts and realize that the blessing God has given us is not just for us. Um, it's to share and to save others. And so I just thought this was such an amazing promise. I'm going to make a distinction. And if you are His, then that shouldn't scare you or worry you, because, um, we belong to Him. And He is going to make a distinction, and people will know where to come. And that to me is just absolutely amazing. So the next plague that came did not come by the hand of Moses or Aaron or the staff. It says that Adonai did just so, and a massive swarm of flies went into the house of Pharaoh, his servants, all of Egypt. Okay, so at this point, God is just like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, because y'all been not listening long enough. So then the plague on the livestock happens, and let's see. And Adonai did the deed after this. So the first three plagues happened at the hand of Aaron's staff. And now the Lord is just like, enough. So He keeps unleashing all of this. So he kills the livestock. And I don't know, it says, I want to say it was a third, the cattle. And then not one cattle, or not one, so it's the livestock meaning the cattle. So it's not every single animal, but He said He'll make a distinction between the cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt. The cattle is how they made their money, guys. So again, it's another promise to us We don't trust in their system. We don't trust in the system of the world. He is going to bring us out. And I feel like there's so much fear even among the believers right now. And this just gave me this peace. Maybe I'm ignorant and maybe I'm too naive, but I truly believe we can store up, we can do what we can do, but there's only so much we can do. And then the rest of it is up to him, and he's going to prove faithful. So, yeah. And it says the next day he did the deed, and the cattle, all the cattle of Egypt died. So they still had livestock, but they did not have cattle, because in the next passage you realize um, the boils came, and then the hail. And when the hail came, it said, "Get your livestock, get your servants, get your families inside." And so many people didn't listen. And this is where we're at in our nation right now, guys. I mean, really, like, there's a storm coming, and people are just like, "What are we gonna watch on TV tonight?" Like, okay, so this is kind of, I feel like a warning to the believers. Wake up out of your sleep. Start making preparations as you can for your families and for anyone that you might know that doesn't have a support system. Um, there's so much more I could say, but I really felt like that was something significant with these plagues, this Torah portion. Um, there's a time of judgment coming, and I'm excited to see it, because I want to see that distinction happen, and I want to see the wicked pay for what they've done, because there are things that have happened to children and to families via so many different avenues that they have set up to harm. And I'm ready to see that day come where God says, enough, you're done. You're done hurting, you're done hurting, you're done harming, you're done. And I'm also excited to see the true Great Awakening, which has nothing to do with a president or a man, although I do believe that they are used by God, whether for good or evil, it doesn't matter. It's his choice. But they are used in many different ways to take us where he's bringing us. And so I'm excited to see what happens. And I'm so thankful that my hope and my trust is not in a man or a system. It is in the kingdom, and it's in my Father and Yeshua, his son. So I just want to give y'all that encouragement. And if you have any thoughts or questions, please comment below. This is a private video, so if you have someone that you'd like to see it, you can share the link, but it's not a public video. I don't want to do this channel to gain followers or anything like that. Like, that is not, it makes me uncomfortable. But if you want to invite people to the Wide Awake Bible Study on Band, and you're already in the group, share that link. I can share it below as well. And feel free to share this video with those that you think would benefit and like it. Yeah, I think that's it. And I really hope you'll have a great weekend. Shabbat Shalom. As the sun is going down, we're going to have Shabbat dinner in our house. So I got to get ready and start chopping veggies and stuff right now. But I love y'all, and thank you for watching.